The last thing I expected at my father's funeral was to smile. Yet there I stood, clutching a letter that would change everything, fighting back an inappropriate grin while my brother Sergio sobbed dramatically into our mother's shoulder. I'm Alice, and for 32 years, I've been the family disappointment, the shadow child, the one who could never quite measure up to precious Sergio's achievements. But today was different. Ms. Wilkinson? A tall man in a crisp suit approached me as the other mourners began filtering out of the cemetery. I'm Carson King, your father's attorney. We need to discuss the reading of the will. I nodded, already knowing what was coming. Dad might have ignored me in life, but in death he'd finally seen me. The next day we gathered in Carson's office. The leather chairs squeaked as Sergio shifted impatiently, while Mom sat rigid, her face a mask of careful composure. I kept my eyes fixed on the mahogany desk, remembering the last conversation I'd had with Dad. Alice, Carson began, clearing his throat. Your father made some significant changes to his will in his final months. Sergio leaned forward. Changes? What changes? I watched my brother's face as Carson continued reading. The colour drained from his cheeks when the attorney announced that the entire estate, the house, the business, everything had been left to me. This is impossible, Sergio exploded, jumping to his feet. Dad would never— Sit down, Mom snapped, her voice trembling. She turned to Carson. There must be some mistake. Wilson always intended for Sergio to inherit the business. He's been grooming him for years. The documentation is quite clear, Carson replied, sliding his glasses up his nose. Mr. Wilkinson was of sound mind when he made these changes. Everything has been left to Alice, including full control of Wilkinson Industries. My phone buzzed. A text from Luna. How's it going? Did they flip? I typed back quickly. Better than we planned. Stand by. I'll contest this, Sergio declared, pacing the office. Dad wasn't thinking clearly. Alice probably manipulated him somehow. She's always been jealous of me. I finally spoke up, my voice steady. Jealous? Of what exactly? Of being Dad's puppet? Of having every decision made for you? You ungrateful little, Mom started, but I cut her off. I'm not the same person you could dismiss anymore. I stood, smoothing my black dress. Dad saw something in me at the end. Something you all missed. What did you do to him? Sergio demanded, getting in my face. How did you convince him to change the will? I met his gaze calmly. I showed him my potential, something you never had to do because it was always handed to you. Carson cleared his throat. There's more. Mr. Wilkinson left a letter explaining his decision. My heart skipped. This I hadn't known about. Carson began reading. To my family. I've watched for years as we destroyed Alice's spirit, dismissed her achievements, and pushed her into the background. In my final months, I saw what she's built on her own, without our help or acknowledgement. She has the vision and strength to take Wilkinson Industries where it needs to go. Sergio, you were given everything and did nothing with it. Alice made something from nothing. She deserves this. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them away. Too little, too late, Dad. This is ridiculous, Mom declared, standing. We'll fight this. Come, Sergio. They stormed out, leaving me alone with Carson. He gathered the papers, looking at me thoughtfully. They don't know, do they? He asked quietly. About your non-profit. I shook my head. They never bothered to ask what I was doing with my life. They're about to find out. My phone buzzed again. Luna. Meeting still on for tomorrow. The merger paperwork is ready. Yes, I replied. Time to show them exactly what the family disappointment can do. Walking out of the office, I felt lighter than I had in years. Dad's final gift wasn't just the inheritance. It was the look on Sergio's face when he realized he wasn't untouchable anymore. The way Mom's carefully constructed world crumbled around her. I stepped into the sunshine, remembering all the family dinners where I was invisible, the achievements that went unacknowledged, the constant comparison to Sergio. They never saw me coming. They never saw me at all. But they would now. My phone rang. Luna again. Well, she asked when I answered. Did the bomb drop? I laughed. really laughed, for the first time in days. Oh yes, and Luna? They have no idea what's coming next. That's my girl, she said. Ready to change the world? I got into my car, starting the engine. Ready to show them exactly who Alice Wilkinson is. The game was on, and for once I held all the cards. Let them contest the will. Let them fight. They were about to learn that the daughter they underestimated had become the woman they should have feared. You've been planning this for 3 years? Luna set down her coffee cup, eyes wide. We were sitting in our usual corner of the small cafe where everything had started. I knew you were working on something big, but this... 4 years, actually. I pulled out my laptop, showing her the spreadsheets and documents I'd carefully compiled. Remember that night you found me crying here? How could I forget? You looked like you'd hit rock bottom. The memory was still crystal clear. I'd just left another disastrous family dinner where Sergio had announced his latest promotion, and Mom had spent the entire evening gushing about how he was following in Dad's footsteps. What about your new project? I'd asked during dessert. The Women's Shelter Initiative. Oh, honey, Mom had dismissed with a wave. Leave the real business to your brother. I'd fled to this cafe, where Luna, a complete stranger then, had offered me a tissue and changed my life with 6 simple words. Why don't you prove them wrong? Look at this, I said now, turning the laptop toward her. The non-profit has already helped over 300 women start their own businesses. We're profitable, sustainable, and making real change. Luna scrolled through the figures, whistling low. And your family never knew? They never asked. I took a sip of my Americano. Dad found out, though, right at the end. That's when everything changed. My phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. Sergio just showed up at the office, demanding to see the books. Right on schedule, I muttered, typing back. Follow the protocol we discussed. Luna raised an eyebrow. Your brother's making his move. He's predictable. Always has been. I closed my laptop. He thinks he'll find evidence that I manipulated Dad, but instead, he'll find a perfectly legitimate business that's more successful than anything he's ever done. Luna finished, grinning. My phone rang. Mom this time. I put it on speaker. Alice, this has gone far enough, she started without preamble. Your brother is devastated. How could you do this to your own family? I learned from the best, Mom. How many times did you and Dad devastate me? That's different. We were preparing you for the real world. No, I countered. You were breaking me down to keep me in my place. But guess what? I built myself back up. Your father wasn't thinking clearly when he changed that will. We both know. He was thinking clearly for the first time in his life, I cut in. He saw what I built while you were all too busy praising Sergio for existing. The line went quiet for a moment. What exactly did you build? I laughed bitterly. Now you want to know? After 4 years of not caring? Alice, check your email, Mom. I sent you everything 10 minutes ago. Maybe now you'll understand why Dad changed his mind. I hung up, hands shaking slightly. Luna reached across the table and squeezed my arm. You okay? Better than okay. I pulled up another document on my laptop. Watch this. Sergio should be discovering right about now that he can't access any of the company accounts. You already changed the permissions? Carson helped me file the paperwork the moment the will was read. Sergio's executive access has been officially revoked. My phone buzzed again. An angry text from Sergio. What the hell did you do? The board won't even take my calls. That's because I met with them last week, I told Luna, smirking. Showed them our plans for merging Wilkinson Industries with my non-profit. They were impressed. You brilliant, devious woman. Luna raised her coffee cup in a toast. To karma. To karma, I agreed, clinking my cup against hers. Another text from Margaret. Sergio just left. He looked ready to explode. Should I send you the security footage? Save it, I replied. Might need it for the court case. You really think they'll sue? I'm counting on it. I showed Luna another document, because when they do, this all comes out in discovery. Every dismissive comment, every time they undermined me, every opportunity they gave Sergio while telling me I wasn't good enough. and your non-profit's success proves them wrong on every count. Luna nodded. But Alice, are you ready for how ugly this could get? I thought about all the family dinners spent in silence, all the achievements ignored, all the times I was told to be more like my brother. They made it ugly years ago, Luna. I'm just finally fighting back. My phone lit up with another call. Carson this time. Alice, they've filed the lawsuit. Are you ready to proceed with Phase 2? I met Luna's eyes across the table, seeing the same fierce support that had sparked this journey 4 years ago. Yes, I said firmly. Let's show them exactly what the family disappointment can do. The game was moving faster now, pieces falling into place. They thought they knew what they were fighting for, but they had no idea what they were fighting against. It was time to show them the power of the daughter they'd underestimated. The courthouse steps felt like a stage, and my family had always loved putting on a show. Sergio stood with his attorney, playing the part of the wounded son perfectly for the gathering reporters. Mom hovered nearby, dabbing at non-existent tears with a monogrammed handkerchief. Ready? Carson asked, adjusting his tie as we approached. I was born ready, I replied, then paused as I spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Luna? She pushed through the reporters wearing a sharp business suit I'd never seen before. Surprise! Margaret sent me, said you might need moral support. Ms. Wilkinson, a reporter shoved a microphone in my face. How do you respond to allegations that you manipulated your father into changing his will? Before I could answer, Sergio stepped forward. My sister took advantage of our father's declining health. I built a successful business that helps women escape exactly the kind of toxic family dynamics I grew up with. I cut in, my voice clear and steady. Dad saw that success and made his own choice. The reporters' cameras clicked frantically as Sergio's face reddened. You've always been jealous. Jealous? I laughed, the sound echoing off the courthouse columns. Of what? Being handed everything while I had to fight for scraps? That's enough, Mom intervened, grabbing Sergio's arm. We're family. We shouldn't… Family? I turned to face her. Was it family when you told the board members I was emotionally unstable last week? The reporters went silent. Mom's face paled. Oh, yes, I continued, pulling out my phone. I have the email right here. Should I read it out loud? Alice, Carson warned quietly. You're right, I nodded, putting the phone away. Save it for the judge. We filed into the courtroom, the tension thick enough to cut. Luna squeezed my hand before taking a seat in the gallery. I sat beside Carson, watching Sergio whisper frantically with his attorney. All rise, the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. The preliminary hearing began with Sergio's attorney painting a picture of a manipulative sister taking advantage of a dying father. I kept my face neutral even as my fingers dug into my palms under the table. Then it was Carson's turn. Your Honor, he began, standing. I'd like to present evidence of Ms. Wilkinson's business acumen and success prior to her father's death. He projected my non-profit's financial statements onto the courtroom screen. In 4 years, my client built an organization that has helped hundreds of women achieve financial independence. An organization that, I might add, is more profitable than any project her brother has managed. Sergio's attorney jumped up. Objection. Relevance? The relevance, Carson continued smoothly, is that Mr. Wilkinson Sr. made a sound business decision based on demonstrated capability, not manipulation. The judge leaned forward, studying the figures. These are impressive numbers, Ms. Wilkinson. Thank you, Your Honor, I replied. We're particularly proud of our 92% success rate with small business startups. Success she kept hidden from her family, Sergio burst out. If she was so accomplished, why didn't she tell us? I did tell you, I said quietly, but my voice carried in the hushed courtroom. Every family dinner for 4 years. You were always too busy talking about yourself to listen. That's a lie. Actually, Carson interjected, we have video evidence from several family gatherings where Ms. Wilkinson attempted to discuss her work, only to be dismissed or interrupted. Mom's face went ashen. She remembered those dinners. She'd done most of the interrupting. Furthermore, Carson continued, we have documentation showing that Mr. Wilkinson Sr. spent his final months reviewing his daughter's business model and meeting with her team. His decision to change his will was made with full mental capacity and careful consideration. The judge nodded slowly. I've seen enough for today. Given the evidence presented, I'm denying the request for an emergency injunction. Ms. Wilkinson will retain control of the estate pending full trial. Sergio slumped in his chair. Mum's hands trembled as she clutched her purse. Outside the courthouse, Luna was waiting with a hug. You were amazing in there. It's not over, I reminded her, watching my family huddle with their attorney across the plaza. No, she agreed, but you drew first blood. My phone buzzed. Margaret again. Board meeting tomorrow. They want to fast-track the merger after seeing today's performance. I smiled, typing back, perfect. Send me the details. Alice! Mom's voice rang out. I turned to see her approaching alone, her perfect makeup slightly smudged. Please, can we talk? Now you want to talk? I asked, after trying to paint me as mentally unstable to the board. I was trying to protect our family. No, I cut her off. You were trying to protect your idea of family, the perfect son, the quiet daughter who knows her place. Well, guess what? That family doesn't exist anymore. I turned away, linking arms with Luna. Behind us, I heard Mom call out one more time, her voice breaking. What happened to my little girl? She grew up, I called back without turning around, and she learned how to fight back. The war wasn't over, but the first battle was mine, and I was just getting started. The merger paperwork is ready, Margaret announced, spreading documents across the conference room table. Once you sign these, Wilkinson Industries officially becomes part of Women's Rise Foundation. I picked up the pen, then paused. Any word from Sergio's camp? Your brother's been calling board members non-stop, Margaret smirked. But after yesterday's court performance, no one's taking his calls. Luna burst into the room waving her phone. You need to see this. Sergio just went on LinkedIn. She showed me the post. Deeply saddened by my sister's hostile takeover of our family business. This betrayal of our father's legacy will not stand. Hostile takeover? I laughed. I literally inherited it. The comments are the best part, Luna scrolled down. Look how many people are calling him out. My phone buzzed. Mom again. Her fifth call today. This time I answered. What do you want? Your brother is drinking again, she said without preamble. This is destroying him, Alice. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted was a family that valued me, I replied. What I wanted was recognition for my achievements. What I got was years of being told I wasn't good enough. We never... Save it for the trial, Mom. I hung up and turned to Margaret. Let's sign these papers. As I put pen to paper, the office door burst open. Sergio stumbled in, clearly drunk, his tie askew. You can't do this, he slurred. This is my birthright. Sir, you need to leave, Margaret started, reaching for the security button. No! He lurched forward, grabbing for the papers. I won't let you destroy everything Dad built. Security's on their way, Luna announced, phone in hand. I stood, facing my brother. Dad built this company by crushing everyone in his path. I'm transforming it into something that actually helps people. By helping what? Poor women start craft businesses? He sneered. That's your big vision. One of our clients just landed $1 million defense contract, Margaret interjected. Another's tech startup was valued at $12 million last quarter. This isn't about business, I said quietly. This is about you finally facing consequences. Security arrived, taking Sergio's arms. He struggled, shouting, You'll regret this. Mom and I will... Will what? I cut him off. Tell more lies. Try to paint me as unstable. That worked so well in court yesterday. As they dragged him out, his last words echoed, Dad would be ashamed of you. No, I called after him. Dad was finally proud of me. That's what's really killing you. Luna locked the door behind them. Well, that was dramatic. Get it on video? I asked Margaret. She held up her phone, grinning. Every second, including the part where he tried to physically stop a legal business transaction. I returned to the papers, signing the final page. Send copies to the board, our attorneys, and the court. And, Margaret, make sure that video gets to Judge Martinez. Already done. She gathered the documents. Congratulations, boss. You now officially run both companies. My phone chimed with a text from Carson. Sergio's attorney just withdrew from the case, cited irreconcilable differences with the client. They're unraveling, Luna observed, reading over my shoulder. Good. I sat back down, pulling up the company's financial projections. Now for phase 2. Margaret, how soon can we implement the new leadership structure? The board approved it this morning. We can announce the changes tomorrow. Perfect. I showed them the org chart on my screen. See these positions? All going to women who were told they weren't good enough, just like I was. Sergio's going to lose it when he sees this, Luna warned. Let him. Every tantrum, every drunk outburst, every angry social media post just proves I made the right choice. Margaret's tablet pinged. Speaking of social media, your mother just posted something interesting. She showed us the post. Sometimes the hardest thing is admitting you were wrong. Watching my daughter succeed despite our lack of support has opened my eyes. Sergio, it's time to let go. Don't trust it, Luna said immediately. It's a trap. Of course it is, I agreed. But it's also the first crack in her armor. She's realizing which way the wind is blowing. My phone buzzed again. An email from the board chairman. Impressive work today. Your father would be proud. Dinner next week to discuss international expansion. I showed it to Luna, who squeezed my shoulder. Look at you, changing the world. Not changing it, I corrected. Balancing it. One underestimated woman at a time. Margaret gathered her things. Board announcement goes out at 9 tomorrow. Want me to send security to your place tonight? Sergio might try something else. I shook my head. Let him try. Every mistake he makes just strengthens our position. As they left, I stood at my office window, watching the city lights come on. Somewhere out there, Sergio was probably drinking himself into a stupor, and Mom was realizing her perfect world was crumbling. But me? I was just getting started. The knock on my office door came just after sunset. I looked up to find Mom standing there, looking smaller than I remembered, her designer outfit slightly wrinkled. Security let you up? I asked, not moving from my desk. I told them I was your mother. She stepped inside, clutching her purse like a shield. They called Luna. She said it was okay. My phone buzzed. Luna's text read, She's alone. Sergio's in rehab. Your call if you want to hear her out. What do you want, Mom? She sat down heavily in the visitor's chair. I visited your women's shelter yesterday. That got my attention. Why? I wanted to understand. She pulled out a tissue, dabbing at her eyes. I met this woman there, Sarah. She told me how your program helped her leave her abusive husband, start a business, and she reminded me of myself 30 years ago. Mom's hands trembled. Before I met your father. I leaned back, studying her face. Are you saying, your father wasn't always… She paused. I gave up my own dreams to support his. Then I pushed Sergio to follow in his footsteps, and you to stay quiet, because that's what I thought we were supposed to do. Why are you telling me this now? Because you broke the cycle. She met my eyes. You did what I never could. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. Sergio's attorney filed for a continuance, claims rehab as the reason. Is he really in rehab? I asked Mom. She nodded. 3 days now, after he tried to break into your house last week. That was him? I'd assumed the attempted break-in was random. He was drunk. Again. I finally called an intervention service. She pulled out her phone, showing me photos of Sergio checking into a facility. He needs help, Alice, real help. And you think that excuses everything he's done? No. She straightened in her chair. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I saw what you've built. Those women at the shelter, the businesses you've helped launch, you're doing something remarkable. Something you and Dad always said I couldn't do. We were wrong. The words hung in the air between us. I was wrong. My phone lit up. Luna again. You okay? Need backup? I'm fine, I typed back, then looked at Mom. What exactly do you want from me? Nothing. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. And her voice cracked. I'm proud of you. The words I'd waited decades to hear felt hollow now. That's not enough, I said quietly. You can't just walk in here, say you're proud, and expect everything to be fixed. I know. She moved toward the door, then paused. But maybe it's a start. Before I could respond, Margaret burst in. Alice, we have a situation. Sergio's attorney just leaked documents to the press. What documents? Margaret handed me her tablet. Old psychological evaluations, from when you were a teenager. I scanned the headlines. Troubled teen to corporate takeover, the mental health history behind the Wilkinson family drama. Those were private, Mom exclaimed. How did they get them? You mean the records you kept in your home office? I looked up at her. The ones you showed the board last month? She paled. Alice, Save it. I turned to Margaret. Call Carson. Get our response ready. And contact every woman we've helped who's willing to speak to the press about their own mental health struggles and successes. Already on it, Margaret nodded. Luna's organising a press conference for tomorrow. Good. I faced Mom again. You should go. Let me help, she pleaded. I can make a statement, tell them I was wrong. Like you just told me? I shook my head. Too little. Too late, Mom. Way too late. After she left, I called Luna. You were right. It was a trap. Actually, Luna said slowly, I don't think it was. I think she really meant it. She just didn't know Sergio's attorney would do this. Doesn't matter. I pulled up the leaked documents on my screen. They want to talk about mental health. Let's talk about it. Let's show the world how many successful women have faced these struggles. Turn their weapon against them. Exactly. I started typing an email to our PR team. They thought these records would shame me? Watch me use them to inspire every woman who's ever been called unstable for standing up for herself. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Sergio. Hope you're ready for everyone to know how crazy you really are. I smiled, typing back, Oh, brother, you have no idea what crazy can do. The game had changed, but the outcome wouldn't. They thought they could shame me with my past. I'd use it to fuel my future and help countless other women do the same. Let the real battle begin. The courtroom buzzed with energy as I took my seat. Behind me, dozens of women from our foundation filled the gallery, each wearing a purple ribbon, our symbol of resilience. Quite a turnout, Carson whispered, arranging his papers. They're not just here for me, I replied, nodding toward the press section where reporters frantically typed on laptops. They're here to change the narrative. Sergio entered with his new attorney, looking haggard despite his expensive suit. 30 days of rehab had left him thinner, more subdued. Mom slipped in behind them, choosing a seat halfway between us. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Martinez studied the packed courtroom before speaking. Given recent developments and media attention, I want to be clear. This is not a trial about mental health. This is about the validity of a will. Proceed. Sergio's attorney stood first. Your Honour, we intend to prove that Alice Wilkinson was mentally unfit to influence her father's decisions during his final months. Objection, Carson called. Counsel is attempting to stigmatise mental health struggles despite Miss Wilkinson's documented recovery and success. Sustained. Judge Martinez nodded. Counsel, proceed carefully. The attorney called his first witness. My old therapist, Dr. Roberts. Dr. Roberts, the attorney began, you treated Ms. Wilkinson for depression and anxiety in her teens, correct? I did, she replied calmly. And would you say she was unstable? Objection. Carson stood. Medical privacy. Your Honour, I interrupted, standing. I waive privacy concerns. Let her answer. The judge raised an eyebrow. Proceed. Dr. Roberts smiled slightly. Alice was a teenager struggling with an emotionally abusive family dynamic. Her responses were entirely normal given the circumstances. Normal, the attorney scoffed. She accused her family of favoritism, of undermining her. All of which has been proven true, Dr. Roberts cut in. In fact, I'm here voluntarily to support Alice. Her recovery and success are exactly what mental health professionals hope for. In the gallery, several women stood up, revealing their own purple ribbons. The message was clear. We've all been here. The attorney shifted tactics, calling Mum to the stand. Mrs. Wilkinson, describe your daughter's behaviour in the months before your husband's death. Mom gripped the witness stand, looking first at Sergio, then at me. She was different. Different how? Stronger, Mom said quietly. More confident. She stopped letting us interrupt her at family dinners. Started standing up for herself. Would you call that stable behaviour given her history? Mom straightened her spine. I would call that healthy behaviour given our history, the attorney stumbled. Mrs. Wilkinson, I'm supposed to tell the truth, Mom interrupted. The truth is, we're here because we couldn't handle seeing Alice succeed on her own terms. Sergio jumped up. Mom, what are you doing? Enough, she snapped. Look at yourself, Sergio. Look what fighting this has done to you. To us. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Martinez banged her gavel. Order. Mrs. Wilkinson. Continue. Mom turned to the judge. My husband changed his will because he finally saw what we'd done to our daughter. What I'd done. And he saw how she'd succeeded despite us. Your Honour, Sergio's attorney sputtered. I move to strike. Denied, Judge Martinez said. Continue, Mrs. Wilkinson. The night before he died, Mom's voice cracked, Wilson told me he was proud of Alice, that she had more business sense than any of us. I was too stubborn to listen then. I'm listening now. She turned to me, tears streaming. I'm so sorry, Alice, for everything. The gallery burst into applause. The judge banged her gavel again, but she was smiling. Given this testimony and the evidence presented, I'm prepared to rule, Judge Martinez announced. Unless the plaintiffs wish to withdraw their challenge. Sergio's attorney leaned in to whisper to him. After a moment, Sergio slumped in his chair. We withdraw the challenge, Your Honour. Very well. The judge looked at me. Ms. Wilkinson, the will stands. But more importantly, you've turned this case into something meaningful. Your foundation's mental health advocacy during this trial has been remarkable. As the courtroom cleared, Luna rushed forward to hug me. Behind her, women from the foundation gathered, many crying, all smiling. Mom approached hesitantly. Alice, that press conference you're planning tomorrow. Could I speak? Tell my story? Maybe help other mothers avoid my mistakes? I studied her face, seeing real remorse for the first time. I'll have Margaret call you. Thank you. She turned to leave, then paused. You know, your father was right. You did have more business sense than any of us. You just had more humanity too. As she left, Luna squeezed my arm. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected, looking at the women around us. All of us. My phone buzzed. Margaret. CNN wants an interview. Time to tell your story. I smiled, typing back. No, time to tell our story. All of our stories. The war was over. Now the real work could begin. 3, 2, 1. The producer pointed at me as the red light blinked on. Welcome back to Morning America, the host smiled warmly. We're here with Alice, CEO of Women's Rise Foundation, and her mother Gwendolyn, sharing their story of family healing and female empowerment. The studio lights felt hot, but I stayed cool. 6 months after the trial, here we were, Mom and I, doing something I never thought possible. Working together. Alice, your foundation has helped over 1,000 women since the merger, the host continued. What's been the most rewarding part? Watching women discover their worth, I replied. Every time someone realizes they're capable of more than what they've been told, it heals a piece of my own past. Gwendolyn, as someone who initially opposed your daughter's work, What changed your mind? Mom straightened in her chair. I saw myself in the women she helps. I was that scared young woman once, giving up her dreams because I thought that's what women should do. And now you're running the Foundation's mentorship program? Alice gave me a chance to make amends, Mom said, her voice steady. Not just with her, but with every woman I might have discouraged over the years. My phone vibrated in my pocket, probably Luna, watching from the office. The interview continued as planned until the host dropped an unexpected bomb. Your brother Sergio recently announced his own non-profit. Any comments? I kept my face neutral. Yes, he's starting a rehabilitation program for executives dealing with addiction and mental health issues. We're actually collaborating on some initiatives. The host leaned forward. After everything that happened, you're working together? Family is complicated, I said carefully, but healing is possible when people are willing to change. After the interview, Mom and I headed to the Foundation's new headquarters, the renovated Wilkinson Industries building. You handled that question about Sergio perfectly, she said as we rode the elevator. Well, he's actually doing good work now. Who knew hitting rock bottom would be the best thing for him? The elevator opened to reveal Luna waiting with champagne. You both killed it. The social media response is insane. Show me, I said, following her to the conference room where Margaret had set up a viewing party for the staff. Look at these comments, Luna scrolled through her tablet. Finally, a real story about women supporting women. Watching Alice and her mom heal their relationship gives me hope. This foundation saved my life. Speaking of saving lives, Margaret interrupted, entering with a stack of papers. The new domestic violence shelter proposal is ready for review, and Sergio's rehab centre wants to partner on the mental health initiative. Mom touched my arm gently. I can handle the shelter proposal if you want to focus on the partnership with your brother. Look at you, being all executive, I teased. I learned from the best. She smiled, then grew serious. Alice, about the family beach house. What about it? I think we should turn it into a retreat centre for the foundation, a place where women can go to heal, plan their futures. Mom. I stared at her. The beach house had been her pride and joy, her status symbol. It's time, she said firmly. Those women need it more than I need to impress the country club set. Luna wiped away a tear. Okay, who are you? And what have you done with the real Gwendolyn? We all laughed, but Mom's eyes were serious. The real Gwendolyn was lost for a long time. Alice helped me find her again. My phone buzzed. Sergio this time. Saw the interview. You didn't have to mention my non-profit, but thanks. Lunch next week to discuss the partnership? Progress, Luna commented, reading over my shoulder. Baby steps, I agreed, typing back. Lunch works. Bring your proposal. Margaret cleared her throat. Not to interrupt the family healing, but we have that board meeting in 10 minutes. The international expansion plan. Right. I gathered my things, then turned to Mom. Coming. She blinked. You want me in the board meeting? You're running 2 of our biggest initiatives now. Of course I want you there. As we walked to the boardroom, Luna fell in step beside me. Remember that night in the cafe, when you were crying about your family never seeing you? Hard to forget. Look at you now. They don't just see you, they're following your lead. I watched Mom ahead of us, already discussing the shelter proposal with Margaret. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making people pay for their mistakes. It's showing them a better way, Luna finished. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Sarah, one of our first success stories. Just landed my first $1 million contract. Thank you for showing me what was possible. I smiled, remembering all the times I'd been told what wasn't possible. Now here we were, redefining possible every day. Ready? Mom held the boardroom door open. Ready, I nodded, stepping into the next chapter of our story, not just mine anymore, but ours. All of ours. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from the little cafe where everything had started. Luna sat across from me at our usual table just like that first night, but everything else had changed. Full circle, she said, sliding a newspaper across the table. "Have you seen this?" I glanced at the headline. "Women's Rise Foundation named most influential non-profit of the year." "Margaret's already framed 3 copies." I laughed. "But that's not why I asked you here." "Oh?" Luna raised an eyebrow. I pulled out a folder. "Remember how you found me crying here, told me to prove them wrong?" Best advice I ever gave. "Well, I want to prove something else now." I opened the folder, revealing partnership papers. "How would you like to be CEO?" Luna choked on her coffee. "What?" "I'm stepping down," I said. "The foundation needs someone focused on growth. I need to focus on something else." "Alice, this is your baby. You built this." "We built this," I corrected. "You, me, Margaret, all the women we've helped, and now I want to build something new." I showed her another document. Plans for a political action committee focused on women's economic rights. "Holy shit," Luna whispered, scanning the details. "This is huge." "Bigger than us?" I nodded. "But first, I need to do something else. Come with me?" We drove to the cemetery where Mom and Sergio were already waiting by Dad's grave. It was the first time we'd all been here together since the funeral. "You sure about this?" Sergio asked as I placed a folder on Dad's headstone. "He should see it," I replied. "The final numbers." Mom opened the folder, revealing the foundation's annual report. 10,000 women helped, 48 million in grants distributed, 300 new businesses launched. "And 1 family rebuilt," Sergio added quietly. I turned to him. "How's the rehab center doing?" 28 executives graduated from the program last month. Turns out there are a lot of people struggling under the weight of expectations. "Speaking of expectations," Mom interjected, "have you told Luna your other news?" Luna looked between us. "What other news?" I pulled out one final document. "Remember that woman we helped last year? The one who designed the solar-powered water filtration system? The one nobody would fund because she was too young and female? Yeah, why? We just bought her company. All the patents, all the technology. She's going to help us bring clean water to communities around the world." "Under the foundation?" Luna asked. "Under you," I corrected, "if you accept the CEO position." Sergio cleared his throat. "And I've got some contacts in developing markets who could use this technology. If you're interested in a partnership." "Look at you, being all collaborative," I teased. "Yeah, well," he shrugged. "Turns out helping people feels better than fighting them." Mom wiped away a tear. "Your father would be so proud, not just of the success, but of how you've all grown. Even you, Mom," I said softly. "The shelter program you're running has saved hundreds of lives." "Because you showed me it was possible," she replied. "You showed all of us." Luna cleared her throat. "So about this CEO position?" "Say yes," Sergio urged. "Alice needs to focus on getting into politics. Someone has to change the laws that keep women down." "And that someone is my daughter," Mom said proudly. I placed my hand on Dad's headstone. "I used to think revenge meant making you all pay for how you treated me. But real revenge was showing you a better way, making you part of something bigger than yourselves." "Karma works in mysterious ways," Luna agreed, then straightened her shoulders. "All right, I accept. But on one condition. Name it. We turn this cafe into our first international headquarters. Where it all began," I laughed. "Already done. Bought it last week." Mom linked her arm through mine as we walked back to our cars. "You know, for someone who started out wanting revenge, you've created something remarkable." "We all did," I corrected. "Even Dad in his own way. His last decision gave me the power to change things." "And now?" Sergio asked. I looked at Luna, already on her phone planning the foundation's next phase. At Mom, who'd found her voice helping other women find theirs. At Sergio, using his experience to help others heal. Now we keep going, keep building, keep proving that the best revenge isn't about destroying people. It's about transforming them, Luna finished. My phone buzzed. "Margaret. Conference call with the UN in 10 minutes. Ready to change the world?" I smiled, typing back. "Already did. Now let's do it again." Standing there with my once broken family, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility, I finally understood. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the battle. It's in changing the game entirely.
I found the document by accident while cleaning out Dad's home office. Just a single sheet of paper, really, but seeing Aunt Zuriel's signature next to that astronomical sum made my blood run cold. I'm Eleanor, by the way, and this is how I discovered my family's darkest secret, starting with a wedding invitation that would change everything. Ellie, darling, we simply must discuss Savannah's wedding arrangements. Aunt Zuriel's voice dripped honey over the phone, but I knew better. That tone meant trouble. You've done so well with your business. It's time to give back to the family. I pressed my fingers against my temple, already feeling a headache coming on. What exactly are you suggesting, Aunt Zuriel? Well, as the most financially successful member of our family, we thought you'd want to contribute to Savannah's special day. The venue alone is running us nearly 6 figures. I nearly choked on my coffee. 6 figures? For a venue? It's the Hamilton Estate, darling. Savannah has always dreamed of getting married there. And since you've been so blessed, let me get this straight. I cut in, my voice sharp. You want me to fund my cousin's wedding? The same cousin who hasn't spoken to me in 3 years except to comment cute on my Instagram posts? Don't be difficult, Eleanor. Family helps family. Your father agrees with me completely. Of course he did. Dad hadn't made a decision without Aunt Zuriel's approval since Mom died 12 years ago. I'm sorry, but no. I worked hard for my money. I'm not funding an extravagant wedding for someone who barely acknowledges my existence. The honey in her voice crystallized to ice. I see. Well, I'll be sure to let everyone know about your decision? The line went dead before I could respond. I knew what would follow. The passive-aggressive family group chat messages, the disappointed calls from Dad, the guilt-tripping from my sister Lacey. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Lacey, please tell me you didn't just refuse to help with Savannah's wedding. She said without preamble, "Hello to you too, sis." Ellie, come on. You know how Aunt Zuriel gets. Just throw some money at it and keep the peace. I stood up from my desk, pacing my home office. Why is it always about keeping the peace? Why am I always the one who has to give in? Because you're the one who can afford to. Lacey's voice rose. Some of us are still struggling to make rent. That's exactly my point. I struggled for years building my business while Savannah was getting her 4th degree funded by Aunt Zuriel. Now suddenly, I'm supposed to bankroll her dream wedding? You're being selfish. No, I'm being reasonable. I stopped pacing, my eye catching on Dad's office door across the hall. I'd been helping him organize since he mentioned selling the house. Look, I need to go. I'm at Dad's place sorting through papers. After hanging up, I pushed open the office door, the familiar scent of old books and leather hitting me. That's when I saw it. A paper had slipped partially under the ancient filing cabinet. I wouldn't have noticed it if the corner hadn't been sticking out. Pulling it free, I found myself staring at what looked like a bank statement. But the numbers? They didn't make sense. According to this, Aunt Zuriel had accessed over $2 million from what appeared to be a family trust fund, money I'd never known existed. The date on the document was from just after Mom died. My phone buzzed again. Dad. Eleanor, honey, about Savannah's wedding. Dad? I interrupted, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I need to ask you something. What do you know about a family trust fund? The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, barely above a whisper, "Where did you find that?" So it's real? The $2 million Aunt Zuriel took? Eleanor, listen to me very carefully. Dad's voice shook. Don't mention this to anyone, especially not your aunt. Some things are better left in the past. But as I stared at the damning evidence in my hands, I knew this was just the beginning. They wanted me to fund a wedding? Fine. But first, I was going to uncover exactly what happened to those millions, and why nobody had ever thought to mention them to me. The wedding invitation sat on my desk, mocking me with its gold-foiled elegance. Well, Aunt Zuriel, you wanted me involved in this wedding? Be careful what you wish for. You're sure about this? Gregory leaned back in his chair, frowning at the document I'd spread across his desk. As my company's financial advisor, he'd become one of my most trusted confidants over the years. $2 million is a lot of money to just disappear. Look at the signature, I pointed. That's definitely Aunt Zuriel's. And the date, it's exactly 2 weeks after Mom's funeral. He pulled out his reading glasses, examining the paper more closely. Your mother's death. Was it unexpected? Car accident. The words still tasted bitter. At least, that's what we were told. Dad was a mess afterward, basically handed everything over to Aunt Zuriel to handle. Including the finances, Gregory murmured, more to himself than to me. He looked up suddenly. Give me a few days. I know some people who can dig deeper into this. My phone buzzed. Another message from Lacey. Family dinner tonight. Don't you dare skip this one. I showed Gregory the text. Want to bet this is an ambush about the wedding? Go, he said, carefully folding the document. Keep them thinking everything's normal while I look into this. The family home looked exactly as it always had. Pristine lawn, perfect flowers, and enough tension in the air to power a small city. Savannah's car was already in the driveway. Eleanor, Aunt Zuriel's voice carried across the front yard as I got out of my car. How nice of you to join us. Inside, Savannah sat at the dining room table, surrounded by wedding magazines. She barely glanced up as I entered. Oh, hi, Eleanor. Have you reconsidered about the wedding? I wasn't aware there was anything to reconsider. I took a seat across from her, noting how Aunt Zuriel hovered nearby. My answer hasn't changed. But the Hamilton estate, Savannah whined. It's perfect, and they need the deposit by next week. Then I suggest you find a more affordable venue. Aunt Zuriel's hand came down hard on the table. That's enough. Eleanor, may I speak with you in private? She practically dragged me into Dad's office, shutting the door behind us. Listen here, you ungrateful child. After everything this family has done for you, what exactly has this family done for me? I interrupted, my voice low but firm. Because from where I'm standing, I built my business alone while you poured money into Savannah's endless education. Is that what this is about? Jealousy? My phone vibrated in my pocket. Gregory. I ignored it. No, Aunt Zuriel, this is about fairness. And speaking of money, I watched her face carefully. Whatever happened to Mom's trust fund? She went very still. What trust fund? The one you accessed 2 weeks after she died. $2 million. That's a lot of money to disappear without a trace. The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. I have no idea what you're talking about. Your mother had no such fund. Really? Because I found the document with your signature. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time I checked it. Gregory. Urgent. Found something big. Offshore account in Cayman Islands. Call me ASAP. This conversation isn't over, I told Aunt Zuriel, moving toward the door. She grabbed my arm. Eleanor, wait. Perhaps we can discuss this. Come to an arrangement. An arrangement? About the wedding. Maybe if you helped with the venue, we could ensure certain old documents remain private. I stared at her, disgusted. Are you trying to blackmail me into paying for the wedding? I'm trying to protect this family, she hissed. Some things are better left in the past. Dad's exact words. What were they so desperate to hide? Eleanor? Lacey's voice called from the dining room. Where did you go? We'll finish this later. Aunt Zuriel said, straightening her blouse. And Eleanor, remember, family loyalty goes both ways. I waited until she left before calling Gregory. Eleanor, you're not going to believe this, he said without preamble. That money? It wasn't just transferred once. There have been regular deposits to an offshore account for the past 12 years. Most recent one was last month. My hands started shaking. How much? Total? Close to $5 million by now. And here's the kicker. The account name is Montgomery Holdings. Montgomery, Aunt Zuriel's married name. There's more, Gregory continued. I found some old insurance documents. Your mother's accident. Eleanor, there was a 7-figure life insurance policy, paid out to Zuriel Montgomery as trustee. The room seemed to spin, all these years of struggling, of building my business from nothing, while Aunt Zuriel sat on millions, our family's millions. Eleanor? Gregory's voice softened. What do you want to do? I thought about Savannah's entitled demands, Dad's silence, Aunt Zuriel's threats. Keep digging, I said. I want everything. The family pressure intensified over the next week. Constant calls, guilt-tripping texts, even a tearful visit from Savannah herself. But it was Lacey showing up at my door at midnight that finally broke the pattern. I need a drink, she announced, pushing past me into my apartment. Her mascara was smeared, and she clutched her purse like a lifeline. I poured us both a glass of wine. What happened? Aunt Zuriel happened. Lacey took a long sip. She came by my place today, started asking weird questions about you, about what you've been saying to me. What kind of questions? About Mom, mostly, and money. She set down her glass hard enough to slosh wine onto my coffee table. She offered to help with my rent if I'd keep an eye on you. I felt my jaw clench. And I told her to shove it. Lacey's eyes filled with tears. But Ellie, there's something else. Something I should have told you years ago. I sat down beside her, my heart pounding. What? Remember when I was trying to start my photography business right after college? She wouldn't meet my eyes. I went to Aunt Zuriel for a loan. She agreed, but then she made me sign these papers. I didn't really read them. I was so desperate. What papers, Lacey? I think they were about Mom's estate, some kind of waiver of rights. She wiped her eyes. The business failed anyway, and Aunt Zuriel held that loan over my head for years. But tonight, when she tried to bribe me again, something clicked. Why does she have so much money to throw around? I got up and retrieved the trust fund document from my office. Lacey's hands shook as she read it. $2 million? She whispered. But we struggled so much after Mom died. You worked 3 jobs to start your business. I had to drop out of art school. It gets worse. I told her about Gregory's discovery of the offshore account and the insurance policy. Lacey cut herself off, standing up suddenly. We need to check Mom's old things, now. It's midnight. Dad's at his poker game. He won't be home for hours. We need to look while Aunt Zuriel isn't hovering around. 20 minutes later, we were in Mom's old craft room, now used for storage. Lacey went straight to the back corner, pulling out a dusty box. Mom's journals, she explained. I found them years ago but never read them. It felt too private then. We spent the next hour flipping through pages of our mother's elegant handwriting. Most entries were ordinary, daily life, concerns about us kids, little observations about the world. Then I found it. Listen to this, I said, reading aloud. Zuriel's been asking about the trust again. Says Norman's business is in trouble, needs capital. I can't tell if she's lying. She always was good at that. But I made that trust for the girl's future. I won't let her touch it. I looked at the date. This was 3 weeks before the accident. Lacey grabbed the journal. There's more. Found discrepancies in the business accounts today. Large transfers I can't trace. When I asked Zuriel about them, she got defensive. Something's not right. Meeting with my lawyer tomorrow to... She turned the page. That's the last entry. My phone rang, making us both jump. Gregory. Eleanor, I found something disturbing. Those insurance documents? There was an investigation into your mother's accident, but it was suddenly dropped. The detective in charge received a large payment to an offshore account 2 days later. The journal slipped from my hands. That's not all, Gregory continued. I've been tracking the money trail. Most of those millions, they've been funding Savannah's lifestyle, designer clothes, luxury cars, that string of failed businesses she started. But there's a pattern of smaller payments, too, to people who might ask questions. Like the detective, I said numbly. Exactly, Eleanor. I think this goes deeper than simple embezzlement. Lacey was still reading the journal, her face getting paler by the page. Ellie, she interrupted, look at this. She pointed to a loose paper tucked into the binding, a handwritten letter. If anything happens to me, I read aloud, the truth is in the blue box. Love, Mom. Lacey and I stared at each other. The blue music box, she whispered. The one Mom always kept locked. Aunt Zuriel took it after the funeral, said it was worthless. Where is it now? In her house, in that cabinet of collectibles she never lets anyone touch. I spoke into the phone. Gregory, we need to get into Aunt Zuriel's house. Eleanor, his voice was worried. Be careful. People who pay off detectives? I know. I looked at Lacey, saw my own determination reflected in her eyes. But Mom tried to warn us. It's time we found out why. I found Dad in his usual spot, the back porch, nursing a whiskey, staring at Mom's old garden. The journals felt heavy in my bag as I sat beside him. You knew, didn't you? I kept my voice gentle, but he flinched anyway. About the money, about all of it. He took a long drink before answering. Your mother never trusted Zuriel with money, said she was too creative with numbers. Is that what we're calling fraud now? Creative? Eleanor? No. I pulled out Mom's journal. I found these. She knew something was wrong with the business accounts. She was going to meet a lawyer. I paused, watching his face. The next day, she died. The glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the porch. Don't. Please. The detective who investigated her accident got a payoff, Dad. An offshore payment, just like the millions Aunt Zuriel's been hiding all these years. He buried his face in his hands. I didn't know, not at first. When did you find out? About a year after your mother. His voice cracked. I found some papers like you did. When I confronted Zuriel, she had explanations, said your mother had been embezzling, that she'd fixed everything to protect the family name. And you believed her? The words came out sharper than I intended. I didn't want to believe anything else. He looked at me finally, eyes red. If what you're suggesting is true, if my own sister, show me the papers. He led me to his office, hands shaking as he opened a hidden safe behind a painting. I kept copies, never knew why, maybe part of me. The documents were damning, not just of Aunt Zuriel's theft, but of her elaborate cover-up. Transfer records, falsified statements, even a letter from Mom's lawyer about scheduling an urgent meeting that never happened. All these years, I said quietly, while Lacey and I struggled, while you remortgaged the house. Aunt Zuriel had millions of our money, and you said nothing. She's still my sister. And Mom was your wife. The words exploded out of me. We were your daughters. We needed you to fight for us. A noise from the doorway made us both turn. Lacey stood there, tears streaming down her face. Is it true? She asked Dad. Did you know about the money? He couldn't meet her eyes. Lacey, honey, my phone buzzed. A text from Gregory. Urgent. Just found email correspondence between Zuriel and the mechanic who worked on your mom's car the week before the accident. Call me now. Before I could process that, another message popped up, this one from an unknown number. Stop digging. Some questions shouldn't be answered. I showed both messages to Dad. The color drained from his face. The mechanic, he whispered. I remember. Your mother complained about the brakes feeling strange. Zuriel recommended her personal mechanic. Lacey made a choking sound. Are you saying Aunt Zuriel might have? We need that blue music box, I cut in. The one Mom mentioned in her letter. It's in Aunt Zuriel's house. Dad stood up suddenly. I have a key to Zuriel's house for emergencies. Dad, no, Lacey protested. If she finds out, she's at her bridge club every Thursday afternoon, he said, moving to his desk. For years I've kept quiet, let her control everything. But if my sister had anything to do with your mother's. He pulled out a key ring, hands steadier now. It's time I chose my daughters. My phone buzzed again. Gregory, don't respond to any threats. I'm documenting everything. But Eleanor, be careful. These people play for keeps. I looked at Dad, still holding the key like it might burn him. At Lacey, wiping tears but standing straighter. At Mom's journal, full of warnings she'd tried to leave us. Tomorrow's Thursday, I said. We go in, find the box, get out. No one needs to know. And then what? Lacey asked. I thought about Savannah's wedding, now just weeks away. About Aunt Zuriel's smug demands and threats. About 12 years of struggling while she lived off our mother's money. Then we get justice, I said. For Mom, for all of us. Dad nodded slowly, placing the key in my hand. Your mother would be proud of you both. She always said truth finds its way to light. Like water, Lacey whispered, quoting Mom's favorite saying. It always finds a crack to flow through. Tomorrow, we'd find more than cracks. We'd blow the whole dam wide open. The key trembled in my hand as we stood at Aunt Zuriel's back door. Thursday afternoon, right on schedule, we'd watched her luxury sedan pull away for Bridge Club. 15 minutes, Gregory reminded us through the phone's speaker. He'd insisted on staying connected. Any longer and we risk her coming back. The lock clicked open. Lacey grabbed my arm. Wait, security system. Dad stepped forward, punching in the code. She never changes it. Our mother's birthday. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Aunt Zuriel's house was exactly what you'd expect. Expensive, immaculate, and cold. The cabinet of collectibles dominated her formal living room, dozens of precious trinkets displayed behind glass. There, Lacey pointed. Top shelf, far right. Mom's blue music box sat exactly where Lacey remembered, gathering dust among crystal figurines. The cabinet was locked. Now what? Lacey whispered. I pulled out the ring of keys Dad had given me. She keeps everything, he'd said, never throws away a single key. The third key fit. 10 minutes, Gregory warned. The music box was heavier than I remembered. No key in sight. Here, Dad pulled out his wallet, extracting a small key from behind his credit cards. Your mother gave me this, said to keep it safe. My hands shook as I inserted the key. The lid opened with a familiar melody, Mom's favorite lullaby. Inside, beneath a stack of old photos, we found a USB drive and a sealed envelope with "For my daughters," written in Mom's handwriting. 7 minutes, Gregory said. You need to... He cut off abruptly as the sound of a car door slamming echoed from outside. She's back, Lacey hissed. Bridge Club must have canceled. Dad grabbed the USB and envelope, stuffing them in his pocket. Put the box back, exactly as it was. I closed the cabinet just as keys jingled in the front door. We rushed toward the back, but Aunt Zuriel's voice rang out. Hello? Is someone here? Footsteps approached the living room. Dad pushed us toward the kitchen. Go, I'll handle her. Dad, go. We slipped out the back door just as we heard Aunt Zuriel's surprised, "Norman, what are you doing here?" Lacey and I didn't stop running until we reached my car, parked 2 blocks away. Gregory was still on the line. "Eleanor, what happened?" "We got it," I gasped. "But Dad, he stayed behind." "Smart move," Gregory said. "He can explain his presence without raising suspicion. You two couldn't." My phone dinged with a text from Dad. "All clear. Told her I was dropping off wedding RSVPs, meeting you at your place." 20 minutes later, we huddled around my dining room table. The USB drive contained exactly what we'd suspected: financial records, emails, and a video file of Mom speaking directly to camera. "My darling girls." Mom's face filled the screen, looking exactly as I remembered. "If you're watching this, something has happened to me. I've discovered serious financial irregularities in the family business. Your Aunt Zuriel has been embezzling funds for years, using offshore accounts and false documentation. I'm meeting with lawyers tomorrow, but I'm afraid. Strange things have been happening. My car's been acting weird. I've received threatening notes. If anything happens to me, take this evidence to the authorities. Protect yourselves, and know that I love you both so much." The video ended. Lacey was sobbing. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. "There's more," Gregory said, examining the financial records. "These show systematic theft going back decades. But this is the smoking gun." He pointed to a series of transfers. "Money from your mother's accounts to the mechanic who worked on her car, then to the detective, all traced back to Zuriel's offshore account." "She killed her," Dad whispered. "My own sister murdered my wife." My phone buzzed. "Aunt Zuriel, we need to talk, now, about what you took from my house." Another message followed. "Don't do anything rash, Eleanor. Think about the family, about Savannah's wedding, about your father's reputation." "She knows," Lacey said. "Good," I replied, surprising everyone. "Let her worry. Let her wonder what we found, what we know." "What's our next move?" Gregory asked. I thought about Mom's video, about years of struggle, about Aunt Zuriel's smug manipulation. "Savannah's wedding is in 2 weeks," I said. "Everyone will be there. Family, friends, business associates, the perfect audience." "Eleanor," Dad warned, "if you're thinking what I think you're thinking—" "She used our mother's funeral to steal our inheritance," I cut in. "It seems fitting to use her daughter's wedding to expose the truth." My phone buzzed again. "Aunt Zuriel." "Last chance, Eleanor. Name your price." I showed them the message, then typed my reply. "You're right, Aunt Zuriel. Family helps family. See you at the wedding." "You're really going through with this?" Gregory asked, adjusting my dress strap at the wedding rehearsal dinner. We'd decided to attend as a couple to avoid suspicion, though the way he looked at me suggested it wasn't entirely an act. "Watch Aunt Zuriel," I whispered. "She hasn't taken her eyes off us all evening." Sure enough, my aunt sat at the head table, pretending to listen to the wedding planner while shooting nervous glances our way. The past 2 weeks of silence had clearly unnerved her. "Eleanor!" Savannah's voice cut through the crowd. "I can't believe you actually came. And who's this?" "My date, Gregory." I smiled sweetly. "I decided to contribute to your wedding after all. I'm preparing quite the surprise." Savannah squealed, missing the tension in my voice. "I knew you'd come around. Did you hear that, Mom? Eleanor's going to help." Aunt Zuriel's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. "How generous of her." "Oh, it's the least I can do for family." I met her gaze. Mom always said family was everything. The glass shook slightly in her hand. Later, as guests mingled around the restaurant's bar, Lacey pulled me aside. "Logan's asking questions." "Savannah's fiancé? About what?" "He overheard Dad on the phone with his lawyer. He's worried about the family's—" financial situation. I glanced at Logan across the room, handsome, successful, and completely unaware he was marrying into a family built on murder and theft. Should we warn him? Lacey asked. He'll find out tomorrow with everyone else. Eleanor. Dad appeared beside us, his face grave. Zuriel's asking to speak with you. In private. Perfect timing. I pulled out my phone, starting the recording app. Where? The restaurant's wine cellar. But be careful. I've got this. I squeezed his hand. Gregory? He nodded, positioning himself near the cellar entrance as I descended the stairs. Aunt Zuriel waited between racks of expensive wines, looking oddly vulnerable in the dim light. Name your price, she said without preamble. Excuse me? For whatever you found in that music box, whatever you think you know. She opened her designer purse. I can write a check right now. Like the check you wrote to Mom's mechanic? She stiffened. I don't know what you're talking about. Or the detective? How much does it cost to cover up a murder these days? Murder? She laughed, but it sounded hollow. Your mother's death was an accident. Was it? Because we have proof of payments to the mechanic who tampered with her brakes. Proof of millions stolen from her accounts. Proof of your offshore holdings. I stepped closer. We even have Mom's video testimony. The color drained from her face. You're bluffing. Wanna bet Savannah's perfect wedding on that? You wouldn't dare. Her voice turned harsh. Think about what this would do to the family, to your father, to Savannah's big day. Like you thought about us, while we struggled, while Lacey dropped out of school, while Dad remortgaged his house. You lived off Mom's money. Money meant for us. I deserved that money. The words exploded from her. I built that business with your father, while your mother played artist and homemaker. Then she started asking questions, threatening to expose everything. My phone kept recording as Aunt Zuriel's careful facade cracked. She would have ruined everything, she continued. The business, our reputation, Savannah's future. I couldn't let that happen. So you had her killed. She flinched. I protected this family. Everything I did was for... Save it for tomorrow, I cut in, turning toward the stairs. Tomorrow? At the wedding, when everyone learns the truth. I'll stop you, she called after me. I've done it before. I turned back, letting her see my phone. Thanks for the confession, Aunt Zuriel. It'll go great with Mom's video. Her face contorted. You little... Everything okay down here? Gregory's voice carried from the top of the stairs. Perfect, I replied, climbing up. Just finalizing my wedding contribution. Back in the main room, Lacey and Dad waited anxiously. Did you get it? Lacey whispered. I played them a snippet of the recording. Dad closed his eyes, tears sliding down his cheeks. What now? Gregory asked, his hand finding mine. Now we go home and prepare for tomorrow. I watched Aunt Zuriel emerge from the cellar, her perfect mask back in place as she fussed over Savannah's seating arrangements. Mom always said weddings were about families coming together. Time to show everyone exactly what kind of family we really are. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Last warning, back off or face the consequences. I deleted it without replying. Tomorrow, the only consequences would be Aunt Zuriel's to face. The Hamilton estate glittered with fairy lights as guests filed into the grand ballroom. Aunt Zuriel had spared no expense, our expense technically, on Savannah's perfect day. Everything's ready, Gregory whispered, squeezing my hand. He'd set up the audio-visual equipment under the guise of preparing a wedding slideshow. Just say the word. I watched Aunt Zuriel flutter around the room, checking last-minute details. She'd been avoiding my eyes all morning, but I caught her nervous glances toward the presentation screen. Eleanor! Savannah appeared in a whirlwind of white tulle. Where's your surprise? You promised. After the ceremony, I assured her. Trust me, no one will forget it. The wedding proceeded like a fairy tale. Savannah floated down the aisle while Logan beamed. Aunt Zuriel dabbed at her eyes with an expensive handkerchief. Dad sat rigid beside me, his face a mask of barely contained emotion. Then came the reception. "Ladies and gentlemen," the DJ announced, "before the first dance, we have a special presentation from the bride's cousin, Eleanor." Aunt Zuriel half rose from her seat. "Wait!" I stepped to the microphone. "Family means everything to us," I began, my voice steady. So I wanted to share some recently discovered family history. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered to life. Mom's face appeared, 12 years younger but unmistakable. Several guests gasped. "My darling girls," her recorded voice filled the ballroom. "If you're watching this, something has happened to me." I watched Aunt Zuriel's face as Mom detailed the financial theft. The color drained from her cheeks when the evidence appeared. Bank statements, transfer records, emails about brake tampering. Then came last night's recording. "I deserved that money," Aunt Zuriel's voice rang out. "I couldn't let her expose everything." The room erupted in murmurs. Savannah stood frozen, her perfect makeup streaking with tears. Logan wrapped an arm around her, his lawyer's mind clearly processing the implications. "Security!" Aunt Zuriel shouted, standing. "Stop this immediately." "Security's been informed," Gregory called out, "along with the police." As if on cue, blue lights flashed outside the estate's windows. "You're lying," Aunt Zuriel snarled, but her voice shook. "This is all fabricated." "Like the accident report?" Dad stood, his quiet voice carrying across the stunned room. "Like the detective's investigation? Like the mechanic's sudden retirement to Florida?" "Norman, please," she pleaded. "Think about what you're doing to this family. You killed my wife." His words fell like stones in water. "You stole from my daughters. You are not my family." Savannah stumbled forward. "Mom, what did you do?" "Everything I did was for you." Aunt Zuriel reached for her daughter. "To secure your future, to give you the life you deserved." "With blood money?" Savannah recoiled. "With Aunt Sarah's life." "Mrs. Montgomery?" A detective appeared at the ballroom entrance. "We need you to come with us." "This is ridiculous." She backed away. "You have no proof." "Actually," Gregory stepped forward, "we have 12 years of financial records, witness statements from the mechanic and detective, both willing to talk in exchange for deals, and your own recorded confession. Plus Mom's video testimony," Lacey added, her voice strong. "Recorded the day before you had her killed." The detective moved closer. "Ma'am, please don't make this more difficult." Aunt Zuriel bolted. She made it halfway to the side exit before security caught her. As they led her away in handcuffs, she screamed back at me, "You ungrateful brat, after everything I did for this family." "You did nothing for this family," I cut in, my voice carrying over her protests. "You destroyed it, for money, for control, for your own selfish desires." The ballroom sat in shocked silence as police escorted her out. Savannah collapsed into Logan's arms, her dream wedding transformed into a nightmare. Dad stood stone-faced, watching his sister's departure. Lacey gripped my hand, both of us fighting tears. "I'm so sorry," I told the stunned guests. "But Mom always said truth finds its way to light, like water through cracks." "Through cracks," Dad echoed softly, and several old family friends nodded, remembering Mom's favorite saying. As the police lights faded into the distance, Gregory wrapped an arm around my waist. "You okay?" I looked at my shattered family, Dad's quiet strength, Lacey's fierce loyalty, even Savannah's dawning comprehension of her mother's true nature. "No," I answered honestly, "but we will be, because that's what Mom would have wanted, not revenge, but justice. Not destruction, but truth. And as the last rays of sunset painted the Hamilton estate in golden light, I felt her presence, finally at peace. The morning sun streamed through Mom's craft room windows as I sorted through boxes with Savannah. She'd shown up at dawn, still in yesterday's wedding dress, asking to help clean out the family home. "I found more photos," she said, pulling out an album. "Look at this one. You, me, and Lacey at the beach. Before everything. Before your mom turned us against each other," I finished gently. She traced the photo's edge. "I keep thinking about all those times she told me I deserved the best. That Eleanor's just jealous. That Lacey's not ambitious enough." Her voice cracked. "It was all built on Aunt Sarah's death. The police called this morning," I told her. "Your mom's talking, trying to cut a deal." "Good." Savannah's voice hardened. "Let her talk. Let her face everything she did." The doorbell rang. Logan stood outside, looking exhausted but determined. "I've been up all night," he said, stepping inside. "Going through the financial records Gregory sent over. The extent of the fraud." He shook his head. "But I think I found a way to make things right." Dad appeared from his office. "What do you mean?" "The money can be traced, recovered. It'll take time, but as a corporate lawyer, I can help navigate the legal process." He took Savannah's hand. "If you'll let me." "You still want to marry me?" she whispered. "After all this? I want to marry you, not your mother's crimes." He smiled slightly. "Maybe something smaller than yesterday's event?" A knock at the door revealed Gregory, carrying coffee and pastries. "Thought everyone could use breakfast. Also, I have news." We gathered in the kitchen as he spread out documents. "The offshore accounts are frozen. The insurance company's reopening the investigation into Sarah's death. And," he pulled out a letter, "the family business board wants to talk about reinstating Norman as CEO." Dad stared at the letter. "I don't know if I can." "You can," Lacey said from the doorway. She carried a familiar blue box. "Look what I found in Mom's things." Inside the music box lay another envelope we'd missed, marked for Norman. Dad's hands shook as he read Mom's letter. "My dearest Norman, if you're reading this, stay strong. The business was your dream before Zuriel twisted it. Don't let her take that from you, too. Lead with honesty, like you always wanted to." She knew, I realized. She knew you weren't part of Aunt Zuriel's schemes. "The board meeting's next week," Gregory said. "I'll help prepare the financial recovery plan." "We all will," Logan added. "As a family." Savannah wiped her eyes. Can we use Mom's stolen money to help people? Set up a foundation in Aunt Sarah's name?" "Already working on it," Gregory smiled. "Eleanor had the same idea." The doorbell rang again. This time it was the detective. "Thought you'd want to know," he said. "Zuriel's given us everything. The mechanic, the cover-up, all of it. She'll be going away for a long time." "And the money?" I asked. "Recovery process starts today. You'll need good lawyers." "We've got that covered," Logan and Gregory said together. After the detective left, we sat in Mom's garden, sharing coffee and memories. The morning sun caught the wind chimes she'd loved, creating music from light. "I keep thinking about karma," Lacey mused. "How everything Aunt Zuriel did to control us just led to this moment, to us being stronger together." "Mom would have loved that," I said. "The truth setting us free." "Speaking of truth," Gregory took my hand. "Remember our first fake date at the rehearsal dinner? I'd like to make it real. Maybe start with coffee." Dad chuckled, his first real laugh in days. "Sarah always said you two would end up together. She saw things clearly." "Unlike some people," Savannah added, then bit her lip. "Sorry, too soon for jokes about Mom?" "No," I squeezed her hand. "We need to be able to talk about it, all of it." "And then move forward," Logan said. "Together." Dad stood, looking at Mom's garden. Sarah loved this place, said every flower had its season. He touched a blooming rose. Maybe it's our season now, to bloom again. Without the poison of secrets, Lacey added, or the weight of stolen money, Savannah said, or the fear of speaking truth, I finished. Gregory raised his coffee cup. To Sarah, who taught us that family isn't about control or money. To Mom, we echoed, who showed us that truth, like water, always finds its way. The wind chimes sang in harmony, and somewhere I knew Mom was smiling. Her garden would bloom again, nourished by truth instead of lies, by love instead of fear, and this time we'd tend it together.